Welcome to On the Beat. Today we are with our friends from Gastroenterology Associates of Columbus and Starkville, talking about a common word I hear a lot, celiac disease, but then I also hear with it gluten sensitivity. And I want you all to dispel, is it the same thing or not? So
they're different. They're similar.
They are different, okay.
But they're different. Celiac is a more firm official diagnosis with very specific medical tests that we can do. It is an intolerance to gluten because of an immune response that your body has to a component of the gluten.
Okay.
Gluten intolerance is more along the lines of, when I eat gluten things, my stomach feels bad, and that's more kind of general.
Okay, so good distinguish between the two. So if I have celiac disease, how can it be diagnosed? How will I know the difference between I just feel uncomfortable eating gluten or I have a real problem?
Well, the symptoms can overlap a lot, which is important that's why it can be kind of strewn together. But to diagnose celiac, we generally do a blood test. And so we can draw blood and we test for an antibody that's circulating in your blood that's indicative of celiac. And we can actually, if somebody has celiac, we can track that antibody level to see whether they're being compliant with gluten-free diet.
Really?
Or if maybe they're ingesting gluten and don't even realize it. But once we've made the blood test or made a diagnosis with the blood test, generally that would be followed with an upper endoscopy or a scope where we run the light down through the mouth and go down into the small intestine. We actually take biopsies of the small intestine lining, and then there's some microscopic changes that we would see pathologically that also support the celiac sprue diagnosis.
Is it common? Is this a common diagnosis?
Not really. I mean, gluten intolerance is pretty common. We see a lot of people go on a gluten-free diet before any kind of workup by us. Frequently I have patients come in and say, I was having these stomach problems. I tried gluten-free just to see if it would help, and I felt so much better. So I would say gluten intolerance is probably fairly common.
Very common.
Gotcha.
And then, but celiac, not so much.
I laugh because in training and residency and fellowship, you hear about celiac all the time. And so you get out and you think that all these people must have celiac. And they quote like a 2 to 3% prevalence rate of it. But I will say, and practically speaking, we don't see nearly that much of it. And you would think we would because we're gastroenterologists and a lot of people come to us with their problems. But
what typical symptoms do you see when somebody comes and then it's a red flag to you that this is probably celiac versus a gluten intolerance?
I mean, a lot of people by the time they get to us, they will have identified, if I eat X bread or whatever it is for them, they will suddenly feel abdominal pain, maybe diarrhea.
Some quick.
People, it could be very quick. Some people it's more mild. I might feel some bloating or abdominal discomfort. But for celiac, the symptoms can be severe.
And with celiac, do you have to be on a gluten-free diet all the time? Is that necessary?
Depends on who you ask, but generally speaking, if you have true celiac, you probably should avoid gluten. Just because any little bit of gluten ingestion can invoke that inflammatory response or autoimmune response in your gut. Now, some people might find that they can get away with a little bit here and there and some cheats. And so I kind of play it, I trust the patients to make decisions for themselves. Some people can't have any at all, or they'll know it as soon as they ingest it. So it's kind of variable.
Depends on the person.
Yeah.
Well, thank you both so much. And if anybody has questions, contact Gastroenterology Associates.